On a cold Thursday night in Manhattan, six executives gathered around a polished table inside one of the city's most expensive steakhouses. Crystal glasses caught the light, quiet jazz played in the background, and a deal worth nearly $1 billion was supposed to be finalized before dessert arrived. They had flown in from different states, confident that by the end of the night their company would secure the funding that could change its future. Then a waiter approached the table with a bottle of red wine. His hands were steady, his voice calm, but as he poured, a few drops slipped onto the sleeve of one executive's suit. The reaction was immediate. "Are you incompetent?" the man snapped loudly. "Do you know how much this suit costs?" Conversations around the room stopped. The waiter apologized softly while the table laughed. What those executives didn't know in that moment was that the quiet man they were humiliating was the same investor who had been studying them for weeks, the one with the power to approve or cancel the deal that night. Before we go deeper into this story, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. By the time that dinner ended, the agreement they thought was guaranteed would vanish, and three powerful careers would begin to fall apart. In corporate America, billion-dollar deals rarely collapse because of numbers. Most of the time, the spreadsheets make sense, the lawyers approve the contracts, and the investors already know the profit waiting on the other side. Deals fall apart because of people. Because character reveals itself in moments no one thinks are important. For years, business insiders have quietly talked about a simple but revealing idea often mentioned in leadership circles and management articles online, sometimes called the restaurant test. The concept is simple. Before trusting someone with millions or even billions of dollars, watch how they treat the people who appear to have the least power in the room. Do they show patience, respect, and self-control, or do they reveal arrogance the moment they think no one important is watching? That question would soon become very real for the executives sitting in that Manhattan restaurant. Why was a powerful investor pretending to be a waiter that night? What exactly did the executives say that instantly destroyed their opportunity? And how could a single dinner quietly erase a billion-dollar deal that had taken months to arrange? By the time the truth surfaced, the men at that table would realize they had been part of a test the entire evening, and they had failed it in a way that would follow them long after the restaurant lights went out. David Reynolds built his reputation as a bold CEO in the fast-growing world of tech logistics. Alongside him was Mark Halstead, the careful chief financial officer who understood every number on the company's balance sheet, and Brian Keller, an aggressive venture capitalist who pushed the company to expand faster than most competitors could keep up with. Together, they had created a company that moved goods across the country with impressive speed, attracting headlines and major clients. From the outside, it looked like a modern American success story. But behind the impressive growth was a problem few people outside the boardroom understood. The company had expanded so quickly that the debt was beginning to pile up. Warehouses, trucks, software development, and international partnerships had drained cash faster than revenue could replace it. Without a powerful investor stepping in soon, the company's future would become uncertain within a year. That investor was Richard Lawson, a quiet but extremely influential private equity billionaire known across Wall Street for backing companies that later dominated their industries. Lawson controlled a fund capable of injecting nearly $1 billion into the business, enough to stabilize the company and push it to a completely different level. But Lawson had a reputation that many executives whispered about in private conversations. He rarely judged a deal by financial projections alone. Numbers could impress him, but character mattered more. Before committing his money, he preferred to observe the people behind the company in situations where they believed no one important was watching. Before we go deeper into this story, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. And on the night David Reynolds and his partners believed they were meeting an investor to celebrate a deal, Richard Lawson was preparing to quietly conduct a test none of them realized had already begun. By the time the dinner was scheduled, David Reynolds and his partners believed the hardest part was already behind them. Weeks of meetings, financial presentations, and negotiations had all pointed toward the same conclusion. The investment was coming. Assistants had spent hours preparing final documents, rehearsing numbers, and confirming that the evening at one of Manhattan's most respected steakhouses would simply be the last step before the deal moved forward. For Reynolds, Mark Halstead, and Brian Keller, the dinner felt less like a negotiation and more like a celebration waiting to happen. They expected expensive wine, polite conversation, and a handshake that would secure the funding their company desperately needed. But when they arrived at the restaurant, something felt slightly unusual. The table was ready. The menus were placed neatly in front of them, yet the investor they were supposed to meet had not arrived. Minutes passed, and instead of a billionaire entering the room, a quiet waiter approached their table carrying a bottle of wine and a calm expression that none of them paid much attention to. Before we go deeper into this story, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. At that moment, the executives believed they were simply waiting for their investor, unaware that the man standing beside their table had already begun watching them far more closely than they could imagine. The moment that changed everything happened in a few quiet seconds. The waiter stepped forward and began pouring red wine into the crystal glasses placed around the table. His movements were steady, but as he reached toward David Reynolds, a small drop of wine slipped from the bottle and touched the sleeve of Reynolds' expensive suit. The reaction was immediate and loud enough to draw attention from nearby tables. Reynolds pushed his chair back and snapped, asking if the man was blind and reminding him that the suit probably cost more than the waiter earned in a month. Brian Keller laughed under his breath, while Mark Halstead shook his head and muttered that the restaurant should hire people who actually knew what they were doing. Conversations across the room slowed as the tension spread through the dining hall. The waiter apologized quietly and stood still, listening without argument. To the executives, he was invisible, another worker whose presence barely mattered in a room filled with powerful people discussing money. But something about the man's calm expression felt unusual. He didn't respond with anger or embarrassment. Instead, after a short pause, he looked directly at the table and asked a simple question in a steady voice. He asked the men if they were ready to meet the investor they had been waiting for all evening. Before we go deeper into this story, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. In that moment, the table went silent, because the realization they were about to face would change the direction of the entire night. For a moment, no one at the table spoke. The waiter slowly untied the apron around his waist and placed it carefully on the edge of the table. A restaurant manager stepped forward and stood quietly beside him as the room grew still. The same man the executives had just insulted now looked at them with calm confidence. The truth settled over the table like a weight none of them expected. The man they had been humiliating was not a waiter at all. His name was Richard Lawson, the billionaire investor they had been waiting to impress all evening. David Reynolds tried to speak first, attempting an apology, but Lawson gently raised his hand and stopped him. His voice remained steady as he told them that he had already made his decision. He explained that numbers can always be improved, strategies can be adjusted, and businesses can recover from mistakes, but character reveals itself in moments when people believe no one important is watching. He then told the table that he never invests in leaders who treat others as if they are beneath them. Before we go deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. The men who arrived expecting to secure a billion-dollar future suddenly realized that the opportunity had disappeared before their dinner plates were even cleared. 6 months after that dinner in Manhattan, the confidence that once surrounded David Reynolds and his leadership team began to disappear. Without Richard Lawson's investment, the company's financial pressure became impossible to hide. Credit lines tightened, expansion plans stopped, and the board of directors began asking difficult questions about decisions that had once seemed bold but now looked reckless. Investors who had been waiting to follow Lawson's lead quietly stepped away from the deal. Soon the company that once promised rapid growth faced a very different reality. Reynolds was eventually pushed out of his position as CEO. Mark Halstead was removed from his role as chief financial officer, and the business they built was later sold at a loss to a larger competitor looking to absorb its technology and remaining clients. What many people inside the company never forgot was how quickly everything changed after that single evening. Before we go deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. In the world of business, leadership experts often repeat a simple truth that night seemed to prove. The way someone treats people they believe have no influence often reveals the kind of leader they truly are. Years later, stories like this continued to circulate quietly in leadership circles and business schools across the United States. Executives often refer to it as the restaurant test, a simple idea repeated in articles, interviews, and management discussions. The principle is straightforward. The way someone treats a server, a driver, or any person they believe has little influence can reveal more about their character than a polished presentation in a boardroom. Respect is easy when speaking to powerful investors, but true character shows itself in small moments when courtesy feels optional. That night in Manhattan became a reminder that opportunity can disappear faster than anyone expects, sometimes in the space of a single conversation. Before we go deeper, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. We'd love to hear from you. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you never miss any of our upcoming videos. So here's the real question. If you had been sitting at that table, confident that $1 billion deal was within reach, would you have passed the same test? And do you think the investor made the right decision? Share your thoughts below and subscribe for more real stories about power, money, and the choices that can change everything.